And welcome back to Pokemon Team Pokemon Team Creation Series. Today's Pokemon Team Creation Series comes to us from someone who I admit, whose name I wrote down and butchered it, so I apologize, but this is your suggestion for the person who asked me to do Denki Kaminari from My Hero Academia. Now, the one thing you did ask is that I do not put a Pikachu on the team, because everyone puts a Pikachu on his team. And my response to that is, well, if a Pikachu made absolute sense to put on the team, I would do that. Luckily, I didn't think that was the case here. So, ultimately, what do you have? We have Denki Kaminari. Most people just call him Kaminari. And to which I will call him that as well. Kaminari is a pretty straightforward character, but with enough unique facets that I think we can do something with. Obviously, his quirk is electrification, which is he creates electricity. Now, he can't use it to excess very often, because if he overtaxes himself, he'll go into this dumb mentality. He's basically, as he kind of puts it, he fries his brain, and has to basically wait for his body and brain to kind of reboot a little bit. But based on that and a few other things we can get from him, I think we can definitely make a team for him. The first Mon I put on the team was actually the first Mon I immediately think of when I think of Denki, and it's not a Pikachu. It's an Elekid. Elekid, first off, goes with his hairstyle perfectly. But B, it's a young Pokemon, a young electric type that has trouble generating can't store electricity in its body very well. It has to generate it, or take it from other sources, and then use it. Now, this isn't a one-to-one comparison to how inexperienced Kaminari is with his own his own abilities, his own quirk. But it is reminiscent in a way that they're both young and inexperienced with how to use their power. Add on the color scheme, and you have a Pokemon that I think definitely represents Kaminari in his younger years, and in the early stages of the series. That would be definitely a Pokemon on his team. But I also knew I wanted a Pokemon team that represented some of the high voltage we know that he can reach. I mean, he's literally got like 1.3 volts or watts, I can't remember exactly what it was, and 2 million volts, literally as a technique, as he calls it, as he more or less fully utilizes his power to like the umpteenth degree and cranks it out. And I'm thinking on that, and I'm like, well, I can't use Electivire, because I know Electivire actually has extreme high voltage, but I don't want two Pokemon of the same evolution family, with very rare exceptions, on the team, and it just wouldn't make sense for him to have the fully evolved one and the unevolved one, at least in this case. So going to the other electric Pokemon I know have extremely high recorded voltages, and we know for a fact that, well, Pikachu doesn't, Raichu does. I did not go with Alolan Raichu, A, because that would represent more of a surfer motif, and even though that is a little bit of his personality trying to be cool, there's nothing psychic about Kaminari. Whereas a Raichu definitely fits. It would be a more powerful version of a Pikachu, representing the more powerful levels that his electricity goes to. But it's also a Pokemon that, if you don't raise it right, can be limiting, as we see with Lance Surge. He evolved his Pikachu immediately when he got it. And he didn't learn any of the speed techniques that Raichu could learn as a Pikachu. And this is due to the fact that, Stone Evolution Pokemon do not learn techniques after they evolve. At least I don't think they do anymore. Or they still do. They may have changed that. I know, like, Trade Evolutions still do that. But as far as I know, Stone Evolutions don't. So, they might learn the technique upon evolving, but they do not learn techniques past that. As they continue to grow, they can just... And I've never understood what it was about that prevented them from learning techniques upon leveling. I don't know what the in-lore reason is. My guess is because it's a kind of a forced evolution, it may have altered something. So any other techniques they learn, they have to be like taught. So this actually works pretty well. That Kaminari is not much of a strategist, at least not in the brainiac category as many of his other teammates are, or team members are, his classmates are. But he's still a guy who can think outside the box and has a lot of power to back it up. So there are two other electric types on this team that I'm going to point out in a little bit. But I do want to actually go over to two of the non-electric types. Yeah, believe it or not, there are two non-electric types on this team. The first one, both of these actually represent a very big facet of Kaminari. And Kaminari is kind of a jokester who prides himself on being cool in the eyes of his classmates, particularly flirting with the girls and stuff like that. And I wanted some Pokemon on that team to represent the idea of him wanting to be seen as cool. I also wanted a Pokemon team to represent his love for music. Well, he's not, Kyoka, oh God, why am I blanking on her name? Earphone Jack, why am I forgetting her name? Either way, I'll remember it in time. Probably not in the video, but I'll remember in time. I mean, I guess I could look it up. 1 second. Let's see here. Class 1A. Jiro! That was it. I already figured out. Jiro. He's not Jiro in terms of his love for music or his ability to play, but he's still clearly a fan of music. So when I'm thinking of a cool, rad Pokemon that likes music, or at least could be associated with a rocker, I didn't go Obstagoon, but I did go Gallerian Linoon. Obviously, this line is based off of like Kiss and the rockers and hooligans, and I think it would work well towards him because eventually it would turn into an Obstagoon, which would definitely be a rocker, cool type of punk Pokemon. Which, while he doesn't go for punk, he definitely goes for cool. And we'll talk about the other cool one in a little bit because I think that one's going to be the one that stands very out of left field for a lot of people. But there's another trait about his quirk that I like that I want to incorporate, and that's his support gear. We know he carries these metal discs around that can basically act as targets for his lightning, his electricity, and act as basically leads. So, more or less, he can just throw it at an opponent, especially if it sticks, he's going to be able to shock them. So I knew I had to have a steel type on the team that could represent that. But I'm like, okay, there's no real steel type that exactly represents that, so I got to kind of think outside the box here. And there aren't a lot of steel electric types, but one that stuck out to me is, oddly enough, another Pikachu clone, Tokkamaru. We know it's based off of kind of a hedgehog a little bit, or like a weird ball rodent hedgehog hybrid, because those little triangles actually fan out as spikes, which can act as conductors. Add on the fact it's a little ball, and in a double battle, being an electric type and a steel type, it's going to basically receive next to no damage from either an opponent's or its allies' electric attack, and be used as kind of a conduit for that. So I could see him being a boon to double battles. Another Pokemon that's going to be on the team, it's the last electric type on the team, is the polar opposite to Jiro's low-key Toxicity, the amp version of Toxicity. Again, just makes sense. An electric punk rocker lizard, poison. The poison type really doesn't matter, but the fact that it's a very powerful Pokemon. I used one on my playthrough, my first playthrough. First off, it's one of the best designed looking Pokemon. This to me is what a cool looking Pokemon is supposed to look like. I mean, and I don't mind the fact it's humanoid either, because it's still very reptilian, amphibian. I got the cool, badass mohawk. The purple and the yellow look great. It has always been one of my favorite Galar Pokemon. It's honestly one of my favorite, probably, poison Pokemon, too. Anyway, I don't want to make it too small. So, yeah, he'd be on the team, too. Again, going towards that somewhat love of music, somewhat love of rock, that punky, cool, edgy mentality. But in terms of a Pokemon that's on the team that's not electric type, that truly emphasizes people wanting to see him as cool, as popular, well, what Mon has gotten more exposure than the Charizard line? And I say that without revealing it because he wouldn't have one. He'd have a Charmeleon. He would have, to knowing how popular Charizard really is, I'm sure to make people think he's cool. And I don't think he'd be a dick trainer. He'd care about his Mons, obviously. But to show people that he was cool, he'd want to have one of those popular, cool starters, this popular, cool Mon that everyone wants. And Charizard is right on the list most of the time. And, yeah, because he's still learning, even in the final arc, he's still learning, I don't think it'd be a Charizard. It would be a Charmeleon. This represents kind of him transitioning into his, adult years. So I don't see it being a Charizard he'd have in his team at this time. Obviously, his fully grown, a fully evolved team would be an Electivire, an Obstagoon, and a Charizard. I don't know with these. And even though it would still be a heavy electric team, there's actually a lot of diversity on this team. Because you have 2 pure electric types. You have a steel type. You have a normal and dark type, a flying fire type, and a poison type. And again, this would kind of be like an Elite Four team where clearly you can say this is clearly you can say this is an electric type trainer. But they also have a couple other Mon on the team to help help flush out the team. It's a little bit like Wagner's team from Diamond and Pearl, though, to be fair, I mean, what does he have on that team? Honestly, Wagner's team, I keep saying Wagner, it's Wagner. I know in, like, I think, Platinum, he actually has an Electivire on the team, but he's the only he's only electric gym leader who's the strongest gym leader of his region. He's the only 8th electric type gym leader, because it goes, in terms of the 8th gyms, the strongest gyms of the regions, it goes ground, dragon, water / ice, but mostly water, electric, then it goes back to dragon, but if you're in black and white too, it goes back to water, ice, there's no gym in Sun and Moon, and then dragon. Dragon does have the edge in terms of all, theoretically, 4 of them, because the only other one that actually repeats is water, technically speaking. So it'll be interesting to see what the gyms in Scarlet Violet have to offer. But yeah, that is, in my opinion, Denki Kaminari's Pokemon team. What would you do for his Pokemon team, though? Would you do anything different? I know, like, one option might have been Zeraora, because he does have a similar appearance. But Zeraora really doesn't make sense, because Zeraora, despite being electric type, is actually a very hands-on fighter. It shocks me it's not a fighting type as well, honestly. And Denki is not. Kaminari is not a hands-on fighter. He is someone who definitely is a long-range fighter. So, yeah, take that for what it is. But until then, though, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. And I'll see you folks for the next one.